Black History Month Deep Flyers. It's a cold February in Texas. For those of you joining our channel for the first time, my name is Clay, and I'm happy to bring our 7th Fly Deep, Rise Above video post. Normally, we do a deep fly into the big questions, and then rise above to look down on our world from over the top. However, for this post, we'll do it a little different in observation of Black History Month. So for this post, I want to share with you the video presentation I created for the Black Lives Matter Association at the college where I work. We'll fly deep into why Black lives have to matter and delay our rise above until the next post. So, let's fly deep. Okay, last fly deep, we learned that atoms are 99.999.99999% space. We also learned that what appears to us as empty space is not empty. We'll continue the next step in that journey in the next post, where we'll peek into what is going on in the space. For this post, however, we'll focus on why Black lives have to matter. For those of us who come for the eye in the sky, here's some unanticipated Texas snow fun and aerial video. The idea behind creating why Black lives have to matter is to help those who have not been fortunate enough to learn or be taught American history as it actually happened. You see, Black history is also American history. Along with helping all of us become more appreciative of the Black experience and the evolution of America, I had 3 other goals for the video. 1, to be entertaining. 2, to be informative. And 3, and perhaps most important, to be inspirational. I'll let you be the judge of how well the video meets these goals. The video has 2 parts. The main presentation and part 2, the credits. I include the credits to meet licensing requirements for the media used, and just as important, to give credit to those who share their work free of financial consideration for all of us to use. It's their work that has allowed me to create this video. Be sure to share with whoever you think may enjoy. Beautiful people, stay warm. Enjoy the video, and we'll meet again at the next post where we'll pick up where we left off with the spacious atom. So peace, love, power to the people. Namaste. With your bad self.
Say it loud. Say it loud. Say it loud.
With that 1969 mega hit, James Brown helped usher in the 1970s, a period of high heels, bell bottoms, long locks, big afros, and black power. On the heels of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the 1968 Fair Housing Act, black people were feeling hopeful. We were a step closer to equality, mixing and integrating with our white brothers and sisters in more ways than at any other time. Many of us felt more hopeful than ever that our country was moving toward Dr. Martin Luther King's dream for America.
Fingers start shaking. Turn around. Bullets start chasing. I begin to stop. We begin to wrestle. I was on top. Thank you for letting me be myself again. Thank you for letting me be myself again.
But while things looked superficially groovy, the undercurrents of the long and troubled history of American consciousness clung like poisoned tentacles squeezing a beating heart, denying the birth of a new era. Indeed, denying a new heartbeat for the nation. Old Jim Crow. Jim Crow laws were a collection of state and local statutes that legalized racial segregation. These laws existed for about 100 years immediately following the Civil War. These laws were meant to marginalize African Americans by denying them the right to vote, hold jobs, get an education, or other opportunities. All of the things required for economic health, generational wealth, and general respect. Jim Crow laws included the Black Codes, strict local and state laws that detailed when and how formerly enslaved people could work and for how much compensation. The codes appeared throughout the South as a legal way to put black citizens into indentured servitude, take away voting rights, control where they lived and how they traveled, and to seize children for labor purposes. The most ruthless organization of the Jim Crow era, the Ku Klux Klan, was born in 1865 in Pulaski, Tennessee, as a private club of Confederate veterans. The KKK grew into a secret society terrorizing black communities and seeping through white Southern culture, with members at the highest levels of government and in the lowest echelons of criminal back alleys. Jim Crow was finally legally confronted when President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act in 1965, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968. It was a long road from Civil War to civil rights.
is the time. Brotherhood and peace and goodwill, now is the time.
That brings us back to Black Power and Black Anger. Black champions of civil rights attacked racist attitudes and systemic racist culture with a fierce fervor and a righteous indignation. The image of Tommy Smith and John Carlos' Black Power salute on the Olympic podium became emblematic of a whole era of resistance.
I have no doubt that before tonight, everyone in this room saw this image before of John Carlos and Tommy Smith standing on that medal stand, raising their fists to the heavens. But I would ask you to look at it again, because they're not just raising fists on this medal stand. They're also not wearing shoes on the medal stand as a symbol of poverty in the black South of the United States, to recognize the amount of poverty that existed amongst black children in the United States. They also are wearing beads around their necks, which was a symbol of lynchings and the violence perpetrated against black people in the United States. And if you look at John Carlos's picture, you'll also notice that his jacket is unzipped and he is wearing a black t-shirt over the USA because he was ashamed of what this country had done to black people in this country.
The Black Panther Party, originally the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, was a black power political organization founded by college students Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton in October 1966 in Oakland, California. Its members confronted politicians, challenged the police, and protected black citizens from brutality. The party's community service programs, called survival programs, provided food, clothing, and transportation. Rather than integrating American society, members wanted to change it fundamentally. For them, Black Power was a global revolution.
See, it's no in between. You're either free or you're a slave. There's no such thing as second-class citizenship. That's like telling me you can be a little bit pregnant. We have to recognize who our major enemy is. The major enemy is not your brother, flesh of your flesh and blood of your blood. The major enemy is the hunky and his institutions of racism. That's the major enemy. That is the major enemy.
The Rodney King video was a peek into the future, when the dark that black people knew so intimately would be brought to the light for all to see. By the time 16-year-old Trayvon Martin was killed by George Zimmerman in 2016, cell phone video capability was ubiquitous. And between 2014 and 2020, the light of video shined on a slew of police killings of black people.
Yeah. They tell us that a change is gonna come, but I wonder when the change is gonna actually come. Yeah.
Praying to the Lord, will it ever stop? So many lives lost to some crooked cops. We got two hands up, but we still shot. Then we ride in the streets and we looting shops. We tearing down our homes, even beauty shops. Glass plaster, yeah, that's ass backwards. We might air this thing out until we really matter. And you don't understand. You told Captain Stan, go and make another plan. It's un-American. The president supported by the Klan. I can't stand it, man.
And then a Minneapolis, Minnesota police officer held his knee on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds as George muttered, "I can't breathe," and called for his mama. The murder of George Floyd, who was not at work that day because he'd lost his job to COVID-19, raised the consciousness of a nation and a planet. Across the planet, we march, hand in hand, telepathing to each other. For thee I stay. The work of 3 black women and a star quarterback had challenged the nation to look at itself and initiated a transformation of consciousness that led to a global movement.
Black Lives Matter really started as a love note to our people.
It was really important that we establish a really broad notion of who is Black America these days.
We have to see this as a global movement. We can't see our issues as just domestic issues.
In the aftermath of the acquittal of George Zimmerman in the murder of Trayvon Martin, I know I personally felt like I got punched in the gut.
Black people have marched for hundreds of years for social equality in the United States. This time, they were joined by a nation and a world.
When you're doing what you're doing, what you're doing, when you're doing what you look like you're doing, express yourself, yeah. Express yourself. Express yourself.
So when I say no justice, you say no peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace.
We young, we strong, we marching all night long.
People sometimes make the excuse of this is what I know or this is what I grew up with.
They did?
And we're adults now, you know, that's not the conversation that can continue to happen.
I've heard from many of my white friends who say oftentimes, I didn't enslave anyone. I was too young during the civil rights movement. I have a black friend. Well, truth be told, a 17-year-old German student in Germany is not responsible for the Holocaust. I say this as a Jewish person, but they need to know about it. They need to understand how it happened. They need to be part of the solution, and they damn well sure need to make sure it never happens again.
So we want to be a part of making a change.
For too long, these horrific events have been piling up, and enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
We need change, and change is inevitable, and we have to be the change that we want to see in the world.
What we do need is fair and equal treatment. My peers and I should not have to work 5 times harder in the classroom than a white student just to prove that we're worthy of an education.
No cops, no KKK, no racist USA. No cops, no KKK, no racist USA.
Please don't say you don't see color, because if you don't see my color, you don't see me.
See, because for centuries we've been taught to dislike our features. For centuries we've been told to silence our culture, but all these stereotypes and prejudices are meant to keep us at the bottom, where we don't see ourselves as successful or even beautiful.
We need to have tough conversations with our parents, with our friends, with our family.
I
hear the voices of those lost under the hoofs that smashed them, their blood laying in my hands, laying in your hands, laying in America's hands. They say this is the land of the free, but how can it be free if my dreams are in chains?
Get off our neck! Get off our neck! Get off our neck!
That our movement has grown across the world. People are speaking out. They're saying enough is enough. We are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Mama! 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 We are one! We are one! We are one! We are one!
We know all lives matter. We just need your help.
Today, the revolution has begun. A system cannot fail those it was never designed to protect. It is our duty and responsibility to not only fix this country, but to destroy and rebuild this nation, a nation that never once intended for my people to advance.
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is internalized.
like when you're doing